During the Civil War, black women such as Harriet Tubman and Mary Elizabeth Bowser served as spies, scouts, couriers, and guides, offering enormous support to Union military personnel. Black women also served as nurses and in domestic settings. William Cathey enlisted in the United States Regular Army in St. Louis, Missouri on November 15, 1866. William Cathey was described as 5 feet 9 inches tall, with black eyes, black hair, and a black complexion. The physician missed the fact that William Cathey was actually Kathy Williams, a woman. At the time, women were not allowed to enlist nor serve as soldiers, so Williams posed as a man and was able to do so for 2 years. Kathy was probably the first black woman to serve in the U.S. Regular Army. During the Spanish-American War, black women who were immune to yellow fever were recruited to serve as nurses. As many as 80 black women may have served. As the war escalated, public pressure increased to enlist black women. 18 black Red Cross nurses were offered Army Nurse Corps assignments where they cared for German prisoners of war and black soldiers. By August of 1919, all black nurses had been released from service. In January 1941, the Army opened its Nurse Corps to blacks but established a ceiling of 56. The quota for black Army nurses was eliminated in July of 1944. More than 500 black Army nurses served stateside and overseas during the war. Della H. Rainey became the first African American nurse commissioned a lieutenant in the Army Nurse Corps during World War II. The Navy dropped its color ban on January 25, 1945. On March 9, 1945, Phyllis Daly became the first black commissioned Navy nurse. During this time, black women also enlisted in the Women's Army Auxiliary Corps, which soon converted to the Women's Army Corps. During the war, 6,520 black women served. Black women were barred from the waves, women accepted for voluntary emergency service, until October 19, 1944. The first two black waves officers, Harriet Ida Pickens and Frances Wills, were sworn in December 22, 1944. The Coast Guard opened the Spars, which was the nickname for the U.S. Coast Guard Women's Reserve, to black members on October 20, 1944. On January 6, 1948, Ensign Edith DeVoe was sworn into the regular Navy Nurse Corps. In March 1948, First Lieutenant Nancy C. Leftenant entered the regular Army Nurse Corps. Both women became the Corps' first black members. New Air Force privates left to right, Geraldine Moore, Betty Jean Kennebrew, Eleanor Jackson, and Corinne Gold Cook are issued their service uniforms for basic and extended training. Annie Graham and Ann Lamb became the first and second African American females to enlist in the regular Marines on September 8, 1949.
I was working at Grady Hospital here in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm originally from St. Louis, and a recruiter came in one day, and that day I had just about had it. I had worked so hard, and so he told us about nurses in the Air Force, and I raised my hand. I've always been adventurous. I figured, why not?
It's because at the time I was without a job. I had worked previously with the welfare department, a temporary position, and once that ended, it was like almost like 8 months. I couldn't find any work, so I went downtown to see the recruiter, and I took the test, and I was told that I wanted to join the Air Force, but I was told that I couldn't come in unless I went into electronics because I scored high on the test. And I was saying, well, I don't want that. You know, I was guessing at stuff. So I said, fine, I'll go next door. So I joined the Army, and that's where I was 20 years later.
When I was young, elementary school age, I lived in Los Angeles, and they had the California Cadet Corps there, and I participated in that program and immediately fell in love with the structure of it all, and I loved the uniforms, and I loved all the rules, and I liked being a part of something bigger. And so when I moved back to Florida, which is where I'm from, my high school had a Navy Junior ROTC program, and so I was in Navy Junior ROTC all throughout high school, and essentially I knew since 6th grade that I was going to join the military.
Well, actually, I was watching TV one day, and I saw the commercial for the Marine Corps, and I thought, wow, that'd be a great thing to do. So in my town, which was Norwalk, Connecticut, I went down to the recruiter's office, and I went to see the Marine Corps recruiter. The Marine Corps recruiter was not in. So the Navy recruiter said, hey, how you doing? I said, oh, I'm fine, looking for the Marine Corps recruiter. He said, well, why don't you come here and talk to me? I said, no, I'm looking for the Marine Corps recruiter, I'll come back. So I came back again about a week later, and again, the Marine Corps recruiter was not in. So I decided to sit down and talk to the Navy recruiter, see what they had to offer, and the rest is history. Just that simple.
Not really looking for any kind of skills and ability and education. I did not want to go to college because I felt at that time that it was just a big high school, and I wanted a little bit more. And I like the discipline in some respect, but I like the leadership as well. So that particular branch, my aunt was in the Air Force, my stepfather was in the Air Force. We used to see a lot of movies basically talking about the Air Force. And I think it depends on where you are at a given time. I think basically you really have problems when you come up in the rank structure, you know, and actually when you're a peon, nobody is really gonna brush up against you in any kind of way. But as you go up in rank, you come against a lot of different barriers. And of course, there are a lot of men who feel that a man should run things. And then racism is alive and well. I think the difference between successful individuals in the military is because they have a mentor.
I mean, racism is alive. It's not going anywhere, not in this lifetime. But I had some issues with a couple of supervisors during my time in the military.
You know, I don't recall it that way. Certainly not about race. I think certainly the Air Force isn't perfect, but that was never a prevailing issue, or at least that wasn't my experience. With regards to gender, I was certainly aware of whether or not I was the only female present, particularly when it came to being in leadership situations, and also because when I decided that I wanted to become an Air Force photojournalist, I looked at the fact that it was primarily male and primarily non-African American. And that was where my decision came about to become the first African American female photojournalist in Air Force history.
Well, I think there were times when people really did try to not treat me fairly, but I'm a pretty outspoken person. So if I felt something wasn't done correctly, or if I felt that I wasn't being treated fairly, then I usually would confront it. So yes, there is sexism and racism in the military. We can't deny that, but then it's everywhere.
Absolutely. When I first went in, it was basically because I was African American. I felt as though I received unequal treatment with respect to assignments, job duties, particularly job duties. I didn't understand why I had to do the menial jobs while the others were doing the more important jobs.
Absolutely. I mean, rank holds its own, but when someone sees a ranking officer that is white, or if they assume they've earned their right for that rank. But I've been places where, even though it was complimentary, somebody would look at my ribbon and the young guy said, she's not supposed to have on that ribbon, because I came in right after the Vietnam War. But they would never do that to their counterpart, because they assume whatever ribbons or whatever rank they have, they've earned them. And you know, you have little subtle differences like that where you can tell it makes a difference. But the military is one place. They may not like you, but rank does hold its own in most instances.
I wouldn't say I have to prove myself to anyone, because my work ethics are whatever I did it well. So I just did what I knew was good for me and my company that I worked for. I always work hard, whatever I did.
I do, but that's because of my own personal standards and my own personal work ethic and the goals that I set for myself. As they say, you're your worst critic, and I was humbled and honored by the fact that as a member of the 1st Combat Camera Squadron, I was among the elite within the Air Force photography community, and I wanted to do everything that I could to represent that community well, and also serve in a capacity in which I could be proud of, and hopefully others would watch my performance and want to follow in my footsteps.
Always. I worked longer hours. I worked twice as hard. I even faced times where I was a supervisor and I had a young lady that felt, because of my race, that she did not have to listen to me. So I had to work hard at convincing my subordinates that I had a responsibility. I took an oath. I had a job to do, so we needed to get together and do it. So yeah, often worked absolutely hard, all the time, my entire career.
Absolutely. Yes, I did. I felt as though I had to work harder, again, because the military, though integrated, still had its biases and its prejudices. And I felt as though, one, being a woman, I had to work harder. Being an African American, I had to work harder. And then toward my latter years, I felt as though my age had a lot to do with it. I felt once I hit that 50 mark, then I felt as though they figured we put the old lady in the corner, but I still had more to offer than that. So yeah, I did feel as though I had to prove myself a little bit harder than the rest of them.
I decided to join the military because I was trying to re-enter the workforce. And for 6 years I had been a housewife. And it was excellent. When I look back at it, it was probably the best thing I could have done in life, because I came at a time that was great. I was a flight nurse. I could juggle my work around my children. And basically, I guess I was more mature too. I learned that the military really did offer me a lot. And being a flight nurse, I probably visited every state there is, statewide. And it was good.
It didn't start off like that. I enlisted for the third time, I think that's when I decided when I was going to make it a career. Because I came in for 4 years, I did 3, and I said, well, so it's at the halfway point you can go either or, so I decided to stay.
Within the first 4 years, although I think there are some supervisors who are surprised by that fact. I was amazed by the fact that you could be thrown into a situation with so many people from diverse backgrounds and parts of the country, and within a few short weeks within basic training, you're functioning as a team and as a unit. And later on in my career, it became a family experience for me. It wasn't just a job, it wasn't something that I did, it became who I was.
Wow. I think the military decided to make me a career, really. You know, I was having fun. I was having a good time. I was seeing the world. I liked my job, even with the hours that I worked, because some days were 10, 12, 16-hour, 18-hour days, endlessly. But I always said as long as I was having fun, I look forward to getting up that morning, going to work, that I would continue on. And that's how I ended up almost 26 years later.
A career advisor told me that there was a position coming online, and it was new. They didn't have a description, but she wanted me to hang on and apply for that, and it was a family support specialist. And the requirements seemed to fit in line with my experience. In some ways, I could kind of sort of tailor my requirements. So when I went for the interview, Major Bowen really felt like she wanted to give it to somebody else that had already worked in a similar capacity, because I had worked in aerial port. I felt as though my education and my degrees would suffice, as well as any kind of community service. So I really had to convince her to give me that opportunity. And once she did, that's what changed my whole world around and allowed me to look at the military as a career.
I think it's helped me in all areas, as far as being a woman, a mother, as far as being in the workforce. I mean, in civilian life, most of my years were a reservist. I don't think I ever was turned down for a job, and I really do think a lot of credence went to, they would look at that resume and they would see that military on there. They know your discipline, they know you've had achievements, the schools, the military schooling, and I think it was really a plus for me on the outside as far as advancements in careers. As far as my children, I was deployed for Desert Storm, and I overheard them say that, you know, women are really crazy, they shouldn't leave their children because they were displaced. And I asked them, were they talking about me? They said no. And I was kind of dismayed, but later on, my daughter went into high school, ROTC, and I was really proud, because even though she changed her career, at that time she said she was going to go in the military and be a pediatrician.
Discipline. That's one thing I can say that the Army really gave me, discipline, especially using it into the civilian sector. My supervisor used to tell me when I used to work, he said, when it's time for you to go home, and I said, well, I'm not finished. So my husband used to tell me, well, you're not in the military anymore, then you need to come home. But that's just how I was, you know. My work ethics, like I said, it wasn't done until, everything wasn't done until it was completed, and that's just how I was taught, and that's why it stuck with me, and I carried it along with me into the civilian sector. And then also just meeting people and travel, because I wouldn't decide to go to Europe, you know, if I was never in the military, to travel abroad.
I think the skill set that really stands out for me is the ability to work with a team, irrespective of its makeup, and to be able to establish a rapport with that team in a quick amount of time. And fostering that team spirit is important, and it's possible because we're committed to something greater than ourselves. And everyone plays a leadership role. It's just at times that those roles shift. And so the ability to be a follower when necessary or a leader when necessary has served me and I think the Air Force well.
Wow. In every single way. The military has given me not only the knowledge and ability to work with all people, just about everyone. The military has given me knowledge, has given me opportunities to see parts of the world that I may not have otherwise gotten to see, made me a better person all around, and probably more so than anything, it gave me a vast appreciation for life and the wonders of life, traveling to other countries and realizing that life is precious, it's limited, and being an American is a wonderful, wonderful thing.
The military has given me the discipline I need to be a better public servant. Being the mayor pro tem of this great city of Forest Park, we have a lot of situations where residents, they come in one respect and they have a lot of issues going on, and you really, really want to help them, and you put your heart in it. You want to help them more than you really can. The military allowed me to focus on the problem and focus on a solution rather than being kind of scattered in my thoughts. I can bring it together and look at the situation a little bit better. The military has also given me the ability to work as a team and not just think that I have an S on my chest and I could do all and be all. I know that I need other people to support the efforts. The military has also given me the ability to work under pressure. I don't crack when a situation happens. I react, and I'm probably more so proactive than reactive. And it's allowed me to come up with adjustments rather than excuses.
I think basically the military courses, I mean, because there's a difference in working in the civilian sector versus the military. And I think the military gives you a broader spectrum of what happens worldwide. I mean, not only in the United States, throughout the world. And not only that, the people you meet and come in contact with give you a different perspective on life in general.
I have the ability to enter any segment of a society, whether here within the United States or overseas, and immediately make those who are around me feel at ease and establish a rapport with them. And I have gained an empathy and a sympathy for the human experience that I know I wouldn't have gained had I chosen a different path. The Air Force has been the best thing that has ever happened to me, but a greater gift and a greater blessing for me is photography. It was not only the vehicle that took me around the world, but it put me into situations that I never imagined myself in, and I became a much more outgoing, a much more confident, stronger person, and my perspective on life and the world and people has changed for the better. In fact, I think because of the Air Force, my life is that much more richer.
Well, first of all, in the military, we sign a contract, so we're committed to our country. Not saying that civilians are not committed to their country, but we're locked into that contract. So I can't get up one day and just decide I'm going to quit without major ramifications. We're also taught camaraderie. You know, I've worked both in the military and in the civilian sector. And in the military, you become a very tight-knit family because you depend on those other people for your life. They're responsible for your life, you're responsible for theirs. And I don't think that there are very many civilian positions that actually have that type of responsibility where at 18 years old, you're responsible for someone else's life. You just don't get that in other civilian sectors. In civilian sectors, I should say. You just don't get it. And just, we're disciplined, a lot more disciplined, I think. because that's what we're taught. It's ingrained in us. We're committed. And we know that what we do is extremely, extremely important. And we're not just responsible for ourselves. We're responsible for our units, our commands, and our country.
We have the ability to take a situation and employ certain models that we've learned, for instance, the decision-making models, to see if it's a problem and how you get to a solution, a viable solution. Because sometimes what we think is a problem is not really a problem. But the things that I've learned in the military allows me to kind of weed out certain variables that makes it seem like what I thought was monumental was really minuscule. So that, along with, like I said, working well without supervision or minimal supervision, and just knowing that I'm a leader.
So whatever service you choose is great as far as I'm concerned. I think the opportunities are just many, they're tremendous. I think that I would tell the person that really look at what you want to do. Also, we have everything now on the computer. Look at what that branch of service is offering you. And also, before you sign the paper, sign your name, make sure you have something in writing that you're going to be able to do what you want to do. The only dismayed people I've seen in the military, and this is honest, are people that go in thinking they're going to do one thing, and then when they get in there, they were placed somewhere else.
Do it. It will give you a chance to travel, to meet new people, do new experiences, and education, number one, because they pay for your education. Therefore, that's one student loan you don't have to worry about paying because they pay 100%. So I will go for it.
I think it's important that no matter who you are, you consider the decision to join the military very carefully. It's a wonderful experience, but please know what the true purpose of the military is, and know that whatever field that you enter into, consider its applications post your service time. Whether you serve 4 years or 24 years, make sure that the path that you've chosen within the military is a path that you can continue once you retire or separate.
I would first of all tell young women that the military offers many opportunities, just opportunities that are not easily achieved in the civilian sector. Secondly, I would tell them, be prepared to work twice as hard, and be prepared to carry your own weight, and also know that there is much success for women in the military. The military has changed over the years. I mean, I enlisted back in 1979 originally, and from then until my retirement in 2007, I saw the military grow. I saw opportunities for young women grow. Our promotions are now on par with our male counterparts, which is awesome. Mm-hmm. And the other thing is, the military is the one place where if you hold the same rank and position, you're guaranteed to get the same pay. So I kind of like that. And I know in the civilian sector that that's not always true, because I keep up with those statistics.
I would tell them go for it. Absolutely go for it, because there is not another organization that can pay you. They house you, they feed you, they clothe you, and you get a check for your service, for yourself, for something you're going to do anyway. So a lot of people that's out here and they're struggling to go to school, let the military pay for it. Don't mount up that student debt. If you need to travel, let the military send you somewhere. 4 years is going to come whether we like it or not. Where would we like to be in 4 years? Still saying, I wish I had I should have, I could have, or 4 years down the line with a career? To me, it's a no-brainer. I know we talk about wars and rumors of wars. We're going to always have some type of conflict. But we have conflict here on our streets every day. So the military, to me, can offer a young person, specifically a female, a lot more than I think we're getting out here in what we consider the world.
I'm not really sure why I decided, but I know it was last year in 2011. I think I was just talking to my parents, and I just knew it was for me.
I decided to join out of high school. Why? For a stable career, for a long term.
I really want to work in the Air Force public relations because I think people have a really negative view of the military on certain things, and I feel like with positive public relations practitioners, then it'll be able to change it.
Radiology or physical therapy, because I like anatomy and like helping people get through a tough time.
I think the military will give me structure, know what you're doing every day, you know what time you're supposed to be somewhere. There isn't really a question about what's going to happen. It's just, this is what's going on, this is how it's going to be, and that's it.
The areas I feel the military will enhance my life will be financially, to travel and see the world, and to live a good life.
I do plan on being in the military for 20 years, and my motivation is a retirement check and job security, and the fact that I feel like in the military I will know what's going on with my future. Before it happens, it won't be like a surprise one day I just walk into work and it's not there.
I would plan to make it a career, and my motivation would be because of the economy is not getting any better, and I feel the military will keep me stable and afloat and keep money in my pockets so I can survive.
Yes, I come from a big military family. My granddaddy is a retired Navy senior chief. Both my parents, they met in the Air Force while they were in Germany and got married. My aunt, the first female combat photographer in the Air Force, and my other aunt has been Airman of the Year in the Air Force numerous times.
My dad served in the military for 2 years in the Air Force.
The decision isn't as hard as you think it is. Just do it. You did high school for 4 years, so you can do the military for 4 years, and you can get paid for it.
I would tell them go ahead and join. You have nothing to lose. And you'll also have help, benefits, money, school, a future.
Like I said before, the job security, I feel like a lot of people that graduate now, they don't know what's going to happen 2 weeks from graduation or 2 years from graduation. I think the military will give me boundaries as to what's going to be the next step in my life.
I decided to do the military because the military, you have help. The civilian life, you have to fend for yourself.
Thank you.